Okay, it's time to start planning for your experimenting in art lesson. There's two inspirations that are going to inspire how you start to plan for this artwork. The first is color. You will want to make sure that you have seen the Q-Kid Arts video about color because it will really help you understand these themes. So in the Google Classroom slides, it says you can get inspired by a few different inspirations. One example is an emotion, a known color scheme, a season or a festivity or a festive time, or food. So for example, if I want to get inspired by an emotion, I could write emotion here because I'm going to create a bubble map. And then I could say, okay, this is going to be anger. If I don't want to do an emotion, I could do a color scheme. So all warm colors, all cool colors, all tertiary colors. You could even get inspired by a season or holiday like Halloween or springtime. So Halloween using black, orange, purple, springtime using lots of different greens and maybe some pinks and yellows to show those flowers blooming, or maybe even some light blue to show that it rains during that time. And then last, you could get inspired by a food. So you would use colors and shapes colors from that food. So if I choose pizza, I'm probably going to choose yellows and whites and reds and use colors that represent toppings. So that's the first thing you do. You need to figure out what sort of inspiration. Is it like happy? Then I could do colors to come off to show happiness. So here I'm looking at a color wheel. And I'm remembering the warm colors kind of excite your eye, make you feel happy. So I'm going to use bright colors, and I'm probably going to use mostly warm colors. So I could branch off warm colors. I could describe the warm colors: yellow, red, orange. But let's say I want this to be kind of carefree and light. So you can also branch off and describe the mood that you want to create in your artwork, or the story you want to tell, or the emotions you want your viewer to feel when they look at your work. So I could do pastel colors, and that would be tinted colors. So here you're just going to branch off and kind of plan what colors and what kind of mood you want to create based off one of these ideas. And please refer to the slides. This will help you understand it a little bit better. Make sure that when you're thinking of this, you're not thinking about drawing literally pizza for your food option. Here's an example of how I created an abstract or non-representational artwork about, what do you think that I made that about? Look at the shapes, the colors, the lines. What could that one be about? I made another one based on another type of food. Look at the colors, shapes, lines, maybe the effect of my paint. I wonder what that could be about. If you thought avocado for this one, you were right. If you thought, I'll let you look at this one a little longer. If you thought onion, you got this right. Good work. Makes me cry when I cut an onion. Anyways, moving on. So really don't get stuck in realistic stuff. We're really just thinking about color and shape for this project. So this will help you figure out your colors. Then I'm going to figure out what sort of experimental materials or tools I want to test out. If you look at the slide on Google Classroom, it says choose an experimental tool based on a question you want to explore. You could choose materials, like maybe I want to cut up some sheet music that I have that's old and use this to create some cool shapes out of, or maybe even draw or paint on this. Maybe you have some old maps lying around that you could cut from. I see some pastel colors here for my theme. You can even look and see what sort of mail has been shipped to your house and cut up envelopes. They have really cool patterns inside of them sometimes, or even any sort of advertisements that come into the mail. Okay. So that could be types of materials you could explore. You can also choose materials like creating an experimental paint like we did before. Here I've just take 2 dried out markers and put them in a cup of water. Make sure you don't use too much water so that your colors are vibrant. Here I've done the same with orange. It also says you could use food coloring in water. Maybe you want to try a ground spice in water like we did before. You can also think about the tools you use. So you could use a toothbrush to apply your materials or to smudge your pencil lines. So really just think outside the box here. You could use a straw, paper towel, Q-tips, stick, leaves, feathers. The possibilities are endless. And remember, we're not trying to make anything realistic, so be creative. Don't be afraid to make happy accidents or mistakes, is what some people call them. So I'm gonna write down a question. So let's say that I wanna experiment with this toothbrush. So what effect will a toothbrush have on my artwork? And then I'm going to take a guess. It will create smudged lines and multiple lines at once. And I'm thinking that because when I look at my toothbrush, I see that there's lots of bristles, so maybe they will move stuff around in a few ways together. Okay, later I'll write my conclusion, but not now. After that, you're gonna start sketching out some ideas. So if I have chosen happy, and I want my artwork to look light and carefree, and I wanna use warm colors, I can think about what sort of shapes make me feel happy, what sort of lines might be happy, and I'm thinking about energy, like energetic lines, so not straight lines or calm lines, but maybe some fun curling lines. Maybe it's all coming from a center point. Maybe I have a big circle in the middle of my artwork. If I want to spread that happiness around, maybe I'm creating lines almost like a sunset, so it's coming out from this point, or from a sun. Triangles make me feel pretty happy too, so maybe I'm going to draw some triangles here. And I'm going to experiment with pattern. I'm going to repeat that somewhere else to see what it looks like. So really just let yourself have some fun here and try out some different combinations of shapes and lines to see what looks fun to you if you're going for a fun, happy artwork. You want to at least create 2 different sketches of your idea before you get going. And if I'm not happy with that one, or maybe I decide to choose a different theme, like maybe now I'm thinking I want to do something inspired by, maybe food, maybe like breakfast. I can create some shapes and lines that remind me of things I might have for breakfast. I wonder if you can guess what things I'm thinking about in this drawing. And make sure you look back at the artist in the slideshow presentation. It might give you some good ideas about what abstract or non-representational artwork can look like. All right, and this is step 1 of planning for your project. I will create another video to show you how to get started once you are done sketching and coming up with ideas for the planning part of your project.